Welcome to Planet Waves TV. My name is Eric Francis Coppolino here with the edition for Sunday, the 17th of July, 2016. Welcome back, and as ever, it is good to be with you. The world is in a pretty crazy state right now. Since the last time we talked, let's see what happened. We had another mass massacre incident, this time in Nice, France. There was a coup attempt, possibly staged, but we don't know. Coup attempt in Turkey. The censored pages of the 9/11 Commission's report came out, which seemed to implicate the Saudis in a lot and preventing the United States from blocking the development of Al Qaeda in the 1990s. Donald Trump named a fundamentalist Christian as his running mate for vice president, this guy Pence. I wonder if he's related to Gary Hart Pence. Anybody remember that? That's on top of the previous week where there were two police killings and a sniper incident. We are in crazy times. And before I get into the astrology of these kind of crazy times that we're in, I want to say that I recognize this is not easy for everyone. That this is a challenging time, even for people who are strong and are well positioned in life, and who have some emotional boundaries and all of that, and who are not already stressed and worn down. And for those who are already having a hard time, this is an especially difficult moment, and that can be just based on your sensitivity. It can be based on just having had enough of this, or feeling like you are kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time. We live with too much change, and with things moving too quickly. It's like there's never a moment to even just settle into anything being that way and just live. And I recognize that humanity has created all this technology that we're with, and that we like it for a lot of reasons and all that. But I think that a lot of the insane speed of time, weeks clipping by like hours, and months like weeks, and it's already well over halfway through the year now. I mean, it's difficult to understand, and then change, and nothing more than change. I get it. All right, let's take a look at the astrology of the past few weeks, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to use a version of a chart that's similar to what we've been looking at before, but I'm going to use the chart for the incident in Nice, France. And sorry, I'm squinting. It's getting bright here, and furrowing my brows. I don't really mean to. On Thursday night, the Bastille Day celebrations at Promenade des Anglais in Nice, someone took a huge truck and clipped into the crowd for a mile, going down a street. This is for somewhere not like Israel or somewhere or Iran or someplace, rather Iraq. This is a new kind of method, and it seems to have taken people by surprise, but authorities know this kind of thing can happen. But we can't make the world into a fortress. But in any event, and that's not going to protect us even if we do. But in any event, there is a chart for this event, and the chart is so incredible that it's almost predictable. And I'm glad I have a visual medium to show you. Now, see this purple aspect here? This is called a, where do I go here to get me and the thing in the picture? All right, this is a 150-degree angle. And as I've been mentioning, for about a total of, I just checked the ephemeris, about 6 or 7 weeks, Mars, which stationed direct, remember Mars went retrograde at about 7-8 degrees of Sag, and then went back to about 23 degrees of Scorpio, and hung, is still to this day hanging out there. in a quincunx aspect to the Uranus-Eris conjunction. The Uranus-Eris conjunction was exact for the first of 3 times on the 9th of June. And this is a really rare aspect that's going to last a long time. This will hang out around these degrees for about a year. And the last time anything even vaguely like this happened was back here in first degree of Aries in 1927-28. And so the thing with outer planet aspects is the outer planet aspect itself is usually not enough to get anything more than a background result, because it is in the background. It's in the distant background. When an inner planet like Mars makes an aspect to it, the outer planet event comes out of the background and into the foreground, assisted by something that's a little bit closer to a foreground type of planet, which is Mars. You can actually see Mars. And it's very unusual for an inner planet like Mars to go so slowly that it's hanging out in an aspect to outer planets for 6 or 7 weeks. So it's an unusual weather pattern. I mean, it happens, but it's, for example, there was a Mars retrograde conjunct the Uranus-Pluto conjunction of the 1960s, 1965 in Virgo. That was a precipitating thing of the 1960s also. And so we are in, first of all, we are now embarking on a period that, due to this conjunction, is likely to be sustained intensity, much like the 1960s were a sustained intensity, due to a rare outer planet meeting. In this case, it is Uranus and Eris in Aries. And just point that out again. So I know it's a little hard to keep this stuff straight, even for me, and I'm doing it all the time. Uranus Eris in Aries is going to be hanging out there, and when outer planets like that get together, big things happen. But the big things themselves are in turn precipitated by nearby planets like Mars making an aspect to it and then hanging out there, which it's done. It's rare, and it's why we've had this crazy late spring and summer with all of this murder and mayhem in the streets, and instability in government. And I mean, how did they release the censored pages of the 9/11 report? Right the next day after the attack in Nice, France, after like 2 sustained weeks of nonstop, news and or distraction with all this killing. Okay, and so that. Now, what happens the night of this incident? The moon is right there. The moon is moving the fastest of all these points in this chart. And the moon and Mars, when this incident happened in Nice, were in an exact conjunction. Well, they were in a 1-degree conjunction. See that? 23 degrees and 33 minutes, 24 degrees and 32 minutes. That's a 1-degree conjunction. 23, 33, 24, 32. See that? Those are arc minutes. There's those fractions of a degree. That's a degree. The moon is faster. It's got a lower number. Therefore, it is making the conjunction. That's called an applying conjunction. It's the most powerful position a conjunction can be in. And furthermore, the sun is also in the equation at 22 and change Cancer, square the Uranus-Eris conjunction. So we could draw in a line from here to here. I just didn't draw it in there. Little extra. It's kind of light. You can't really see it from there to there. And that's, by the way, when I'm recording today, the sun is exactly square Uranus. And then there are other planets, hide and seek, other planets involved in this. First of all, Chiron is hanging out here at 25 degrees. Mars is trine Chiron right now, and then Vesta is in the picture. And there's still other things going on as well. I'm going to pull the sheet off in a second. So, but notice this pattern. And when you have a thing like a Moon-Mars conjunction visible in the sky. This is where the idea of an omen comes in. I mean, in Scorpio, right? So you know that it's the sky is a kind of a setup for some angry expression like that. And I am losing my ability to figure out what is really going on here with all of these events and whether they fit together into some pattern. Well, a couple of thoughts on that. One thought on this is that when you're putting together a jigsaw puzzle, you have the photograph on the box, and you know what you're assembling, and when you start the puzzle, you take the edge pieces, right? This is the simple technique of a earpiece. Simple technique of a jigsaw puzzle is to work with the edge, right? The problem with the current jigsaw puzzle that we're assembling is, first of all, there's no edge, and there's no cover on the box, so we have no way to know the context. The edge grants context, right? You say, well, this is the edge. We'll assemble the puzzle from the outside in. We don't have that context, and we don't have the context of knowing the overall picture. And sometimes I get the feeling like all of these events are pieces in the same jigsaw puzzle, and sometimes I wonder whether they're all completely, or many of them are different pieces, and some of them are, and some of them aren't. But these events these shock doctrine events, as you might think of them, come so fast right now that it's almost impossible to keep up with. The charts often have different patterns. I mean, for a while there was a kind of a pattern where it was possible to say, well, okay, this fits a certain pattern of event, therefore it looks like it was set up in some way or staged in some way. Of all of the events of recent years, the only one that I can look at and say with absolute certainty to me is a false flag event, unquestionably, is 9/11. What's happened, and by the way, at the time that 9/11 happened, to call 9/11 a false flag event was dangerous, and it actually felt risky, and you risked being called a nutcase. Now, and losing your credibility. Now you have people immediately coming out and calling everything that happens a false flag event, and the word has lost its meaning. So I can't say at this point what's going on, and I'm starting to not care anymore whether these are a coordinated series of events, or which would mean that there's death squads operating in the world, or right in our country and places like France, or whether it is freelance death squads doing this, or whether it's some half and half type of thing. So I don't want to quite go there. But nonetheless, this is a powerful chart configuration. This is called a Yod pattern. We do see Vesta implicated or appearing in charts where there's going to be a large number of sacrificed people. And so this chart is Moon applying to Mars. Both are quincunx Uranus Eris, bringing Uranus Eris out of the background. And then Sun square Uranus Eris, further bringing Uranus Eris out of the background. The ray of light in this chart, if there is one, is the presence of Chiron. Chiron's not going to be in Pisces for much longer, but it is here relieving some pressure. And one of the ways it relieves pressure is by the ability to take some of these, some of the pain and these incidents, and learn how to turn them into something that is informative, that's constructive, and that we can orient ourselves on healing. Not easy to do. And I realize that with the amount of emotional impact going on, it's difficult to even go to bed or wake up in the morning without a headache. I even had one recently. Okay, the main event that I did want to talk about here, 14 minutes in, but thanks for being so kind, patient, and watching, is the Capricorn Full Moon. This takes place on Tuesday, the 17th of July, 2016. And first of all, we see Mars still in this quincunx. I haven't drawn in the aspect yet, but Mars is still in the quincunx to Uranus Eris. So that's going on. This rare condition is still in existence. The sun is here in Capricorn, in late Capricorn, 27 degrees and change. The moon, rather, that's the Capricorn moon, so it's the Capricorn full moon. The sun is in the sign Cancer. That's 27 degrees Cancer. The exact degree position of the, no, I don't want Safari. The exact degree position of the moon and sun is 2740. So this is happening close to the end of a sign, and looking at the chart right now, the sun and the moon, Miss Vesta, 2733. So the brightest asteroid, and probably the most influential asteroid, is 2733. So my point about the sun and the moon being in such late degrees at the end of the sun's run through Cancer is that they are in an unpredictable position known as anaretic. They're at the end of their journey through the signs that they are in. And when the sun is anaretic, well, also called void of course, strange things can happen. And so we are in a situation where many strange things are happening. And now that we're going to get a phase, in particular after the full moon, the couple of days between the full moon and when the sun enters Leo on the 22nd or 23rd. Let's just get a quick fix on that. Events, positions, sun is in Leo. That's 5:30 in the morning on the 22nd. I don't know what date that is. I always have trouble figuring out this 7-day-a-week thing. 22nd at 5:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So there's going to be this stretch of about 3 days with the sun void of course. And strange things can happen with the sun void of course. So we're not done with the weirdness. We're far from it. And I think that without accepting what's happening as being right or being normal, that we do need to adapt to these to the truth that these type of events are part of our lives right now, and be extremely mindful in public, be situationally aware, and stay sober in public, and think strategically. I think when you go into a public place, it's essential that sit near an exit in the movies. If you go to the movies, have an exit plan anytime that you are in a crowd. Make sure that you are conscious of where you are and what you're doing at all times. All right, so we're going to see a peak this week as the full moon peaks, and it is a chart not unlike the Nice France chart, because we have the sun and the moon once again activating the entire aspect pattern that is here, because that's way close enough. This 27-degree sun and moon position is way close enough to light up everything in this degree range. And this particular version of this aspect pattern will begin to dissipate, and we'll move into other versions of the aspect pattern. A whole new program begins when Mars enters Sagittarius in a couple of weeks and begins to make its conjunction to Saturn through August. So these are high pressure times. We're about to go through the nominating conventions. That's going to accelerate the news cycle, which tends to accelerate the sort of like the pace of things that we have to process emotionally. It is essential that you take some space for yourself and give yourself a chance to go in and process these experiences and do the things that feel good for you, whatever they might be. If you know that sketching is therapeutic, which I forgot how therapeutic sketching is, and I dusted off my pencils the other day, and started sketching again and realized, wow, this really chills out my restless mind. Given that I'm like always having to think about things, or cooking is therapeutic, or hanging out with your cat, or reading a book. We have to consciously make the choice to slow down the pace of our lives. You don't need to schedule yourself so far in advance. You don't need to plot every waking hour. I personally maintain a policy of having as little in my appointment calendar as possible. I can't really see that, but I try to keep it empty except for client appointments. Enough of my life is spoken for by my publishing schedule. This is visually annoying me. I am, committed to, showing up for this job. There, somewhat better. That's annoying. All right. Sorry if it's dangling off my ear and annoying you also. But we overschedule ourselves and don't leave ourselves enough free time. So please leave yourself free time, particularly this week, and take any chance you have to connect to the natural world. Stay outside, connect to kids, connect to your critters, take a bath, anything to get yourself out of the this frenetic pace that we seem to be so heavily invested in the digital age here. As an aside, if you're new to this video podcast, I've been writing a lot about the digital age. We'll put a link up on planetwaves.net and then click through to the main page. You land up on the horoscopes page first, and then there's a link that says click to the main page. And right up top, we'll put a link to my series on the digital, what I'll call the digital crisis that we are in, which is a first-rate spiritual crisis, because the way in which the digital technology that we are living with is impacting the core sanctuary of what it means to be a person. This is no small matter, and you could take the entire Omega Institute catalog, and it might add up to some understanding, the whole book for 2016, the impact of digital on our lives spiritually. This is not speculative, as you will read, and as I've been saying over the past few weeks, the impact of the digital age is to diffuse and dilute one's sense of one's inner being, and in a good few people, their response to this is to lash out with anger and violence in an attempt to establish their identity. And this is being done by individuals as much as it is by groups. And so much of the anger much of the violence we see in the world right now is a kind of attempt to remedy an identity crisis. And you would only need to meditate on this a little while, or read a couple of these articles to see that at the very least this is a plausible theory, and that underneath it there is a deeper theory about the ways in which we are being taken out of contact with ourselves and losing the ability for introspection, and by extension the capacity for intimacy, since intimacy is introspection that is shared with another person. Okay, one last aspect here, and I'm going to toss this one out to you as well, and I haven't commented on this yet, but the first two Centaur planets are in a square aspect right now. It's a very exact square. I haven't run all the exact dates. You need to go to Serennu, SERENNU.com to see the exact dates of these. But right now they are in an exact square with Pholus at 25 and change degrees of Sag, right on the galactic center, and Mars at 25 and change of Pisces, square Pholus and the galactic center. Chiron is you may have heard of Chiron, the first Centaur planet. It was discovered in 1977 and began a whole new era both of astronomy and of astrology. Chiron remained the only Centaur till 92 when Pholus was discovered, and they have similar energies, except that Chiron is more gentle and slow acting, and Pholus is more. I have to decline a phone call. I can do it from my Mac now. That's crazy. Really crazy. Everything's integrated. It's better than it not being integrated. Okay, so Pholus tends to let the genie out of the bottle. And Pholus is conjunct the galactic center. And one thing that we have is one perhaps new agey interpretation of Pholus conjunct the galactic center is that there is an unleashing of what you might think of as whatever you define as spiritual energy coming from the galactic center that is almost like turning the lights on in a room full of cockroaches and they all scatter. I don't know if you've ever lived in the deep south where you might get a whole room like a garage full of cockroaches and you flip the light on and boom, they're all gone. That may be one of the things that's happening. That what may be seeing is a kind of a reaction of the old order against this increasing vibration. The centaurs tend toward the vibration of healing, even though they're implicated in many crimes and difficulties and negative developments. But they are I believe their like design intent is a healing intent, and Pholus is now square Chiron, and this is these two are now applying pressure on one another, and there is a real get with it pressure from Pholus being applied to Chiron or vice versa, Chiron onto Pholus. I'm not, I don't have anything definitive, and normally when I'm interpreting these aspects, it'll take me a number of attempts and studies, and then you'll post comments, please, to Facebook or to YouTube where this is. I'd like to peel back a couple of layers of Chiron square Pholus. The galactic center is right there. The galactic center is right behind Pholus, and so this aspect too is going to last a while. I am biased heavily in favor of Chiron as a benefic element, a helpful element. As Al Morrison said, Chiron is the inconvenient benefic. And so Pholus, together with Chiron, seems to be acting as this sort of provocation. I am describing the whole sky right now as the astrology of wake the fuck up. There's never been a sky like this that I've ever seen, be it in my studies of historical charts or my studies of... There's the camera. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a hard video day. This is my third video of the day. Agents and expressions simultaneously designed as a kind of a synchronized wake-up call. All right. On that thought, I will leave you. I'm about to write the initial purchase offer letter for my mid-year reading. I do a spring reading and a mid-year reading every year. This is going to be a big mid-year reading because there is so much astrology coming up between now and when 2017 begins. I'll cover, of course, 2017 in the 2017 annual reading, but the kind of catch-up, sort of like the last phase of the year, I'm going to cover in a reading called Balance, a Mental Vacation, which we all need. So I'm going to go write that letter. I'm going to post it to Facebook and Planet Waves and mail it out. Check that. It's going to be 12 readings for $47, all 12 signs, 30 minutes of video. More focused than by video today, but it's been a long couple of weeks, and thanks for listening and watching. Bye for now.